boys in books are better than in real life. Hello everyone and welcome to my most anticipated review of 2016. I've had to go 2 years without a Tahereh Mafi book. So I was so excited to get an early copy of this book and I cannot wait to review it for you all. I can't wait to promote it for you all. I can't wait to force you all to read it. Furthermore, by Tahereh Mafi.
It's the circle of life.
Let's just talk about this beautiful masterpiece right now. I'm currently filming this in February, so by the time you see this, it's gonna be far in the future. I might be dead. What is this dorm room? I gave this book 4 stars. I know that was probably the most anticlimactic thing in the world, where I'm like, I would literally take a bullet for this woman and her books, but I gave it 4 stars. Transitioning to my synopsis. Furthermore is a middle grade novel. Furthermore follows the main character Alice Alexis Queensmeadow. She lives in a town called Farronwood, which is a part of a very magical world. Everything in Farronwood is colorful and beautiful and lively, and everything has magic in it, and that's where they get their magic from. However, Alice was born without colors, therefore she doesn't have any talents or any magic. 3 years ago, Alice's father left and they have no idea where he is. He just took a ruler and up and disappeared. So after a turn of events on her 12th birthday, she decides that she needs to go and search for her father with the help of, shall I zoom in? Beautiful child boy Oliver. And Oliver's little twist is that he has a talent that he speaks in lies, and he's very good at tricking people and persuasion. And they have to go all through the land of Furthermore to look for him. And Furthermore is this very creepy, dark, mysterious world that really no one has ever been to and come back to tell about. And they have to go search for her father in a land of misery and cannibalism. Let's just talk about what I thought about this book. We're gonna begin talking about Alice. Alice was great. Alice is the most incredible main character that you look for in every book. The sass and the confidence packed into this tiny human was undescribable. Indescribable? If you read Shatter Me and you were like, Juliet's really annoying, you're gonna love this book. Alice is so confident in herself and she is so snarky. She's so great. She's so young and she's so powerful. She's like book 3 Juliet on crack. I loved her. Like every single thing she said, I was like, preach girl. Say it. You tell him. She's 12 and she's my role model. I loved it. I love Alice. I felt like sometimes that confidence though became a little bit too impulsive. I'll touch on that later. Put that thought in the back of your head and we're gonna move onward to another character. Jump cut. Oliver. So these are the 2 main characters that we follow in this book, obviously. So Oliver is kind of her guide through Furthermore, if you will. I did not like him as much. I was thinking to myself, okay, literally any character with a Y chromosome that Tahereh writes, I'm in love with him. It's just like done deal. I was wrong. I mean, I did have a little bit of a freak out whenever she was describing Oliver and it was like, he was very neat with clean hands and he dressed very nice. And I was like, reminds me of someone else. But really other than that, he was kind of a jerk. Since he was the leader of their trek through Furthermore, I was expecting he would be on it. He would be that confidence that Alice has. But you know, he would always be like, you need to follow my instructions so we don't die. And Alice was like, all right, do what you want to do. And then literally he doesn't give her any instructions and they almost die. It was so confusing. I did not agree with him. I mean, their dialogue scenes, him and Alice just were hilarious put together and I loved their friendship dynamic. But Oliver as a person, I think a lot of the reason why I was led so astray from what I was expecting from Oliver is because his power was sort of a gray area to me. More on that later. Transition to a different topic. The writing. Not gonna lie, I do not think Ignite Me was the most beautifully written book in the world, so I was a little bit nervous going into this. I was like, can she write a book that doesn't lean so heavily on metaphor and the strikeouts and Juliet's stream of consciousness? This book totally reaffirmed that Tahereh is incredible at everything she does. The writing might be better than Shatter Me. It is so insanely descriptive, so insanely metaphorical. Like, I mean, if you didn't like the metaphors from Shatter Me, there's a couple that's like that in here, but like, I'm trash for it. I love it. In this, I was like, yes, more metaphors. It's kind of her trademark, and I gotta say, after this book, she really got a dropkick into the top number of favorite authors on this planet, because dang. Just the way that she describes things and compares experiences to other experiences, the analogies she makes, they're so new to me, and it's concepts that never occur to me that are just genius. It just makes my Synthesia go nuts. And if you're not an English major and you don't know what Synthesia is, it's describing one sense as a different sense. So for example, I wrote this quote down in my notes because I was like, oh my god, I have to put that in a video. It says, everything smelled like warm velvet, tea, and a freshly scrubbed face. Now, obviously neither of those are smells, but like, can you not, just imagine the feeling you get when you scrub your face and just like add a sensory to that. It was just, the entire book is written with comparisons like that, where it's totally real and creepily descriptive scenes. I loved it. Farrenwood was just fantastically described. I'm gonna jump back to that later, but I have to describe a different part of the writing, which was the narration style, which in Shatter Me, like I said, it's sort of stream of consciousness. In this, oh man, it is told in somewhat second person narrative. I mean, of course there's the Alice did and Oliver went in third person, but there are little asides that are written into here that I just was so astounded at and so excited about. Basically what happened every couple of pages was that Tahereh would, well, I don't want to, is Tahereh the narrator? I don't know, but the person narrating would be like, let me tell you a story, and just like add little asides that use you and we, and it felt like I was curled up in Tahereh's lap and I was like, tell me a bedtime story, and she was like, sure thing, honey bun, let's go. Such a new reading experience for me. I died. I was like, Mom. A lot of the time it's sarcastic, and it just reiterates the amount of sass and confidence and just whimsical fun in this book. It's also a genius tactic to add little asides of character development and world building. However, I felt like some parts of that was not very well done, and thus we get into some of the negatives of this book. I mentioned Farrenwood earlier. I absolutely adored that setting. Imagine the capital mixed with Harry Potter, and that's what that town is like. Crazy colorful people with their hair all extravagant. Exhibit A, Exhibit B. Everything is extremely vivid, so physically I had a really great grasp of what the town looked like and what it felt like to be going through the city. There's magic shops on either side of you, and everyone's colorful and it's loud, and Alice is a little small person inside this grand-doored city. The technicalities of the world and the magic systems is what began to confuse me. At first I was really thinking like, oh, this is a bit too similar to Harry Potter. Like, okay, there's a main street that's full of magic shops and you have your little gadgets that go along with magic. Then I stepped back and I was like, okay, J.K. Rowling doesn't have a trademark on magic books about fantasy elements. But furthermore, I was just a little bit upset that a couple of things weren't explained better, such as the money/magic system, the surrender, which is the event that happens on your 12th birthday that decides what your talent is and if you get a task. Even like I mentioned earlier, Oliver's talent of being able to lie and persuade people to do things, we weren't given an explicit outline of how any of these things worked. And I mean, I should just disclaim right now, maybe I just missed it because I was reading it too fast and too excitedly, but this is from what I recall. Additionally, I think we needed a better understanding of this town has magic and these certain coins can be traded for magical elements, but how does Alice fit into that? Like, is she physically able to perform magic at all? There's just very blurred lines around that sort of thing. Some clarification would have been excellent, but these things do clear up toward the end of the book, so it's not like you're never gonna understand and it's gonna be so confusing and you're gonna stop reading. Now let's talk about Furthermore. Furthermore was not what I expected. I mean, we're talking about the country now, not the book in its entirety. I don't know what really happened, but somehow I missed the words dangerous land of Furthermore, because I was like, all right, it's gonna be this beautiful gorgeous magical meadowland where they're just gonna prounce through little valleys and hills, fields of flowers on the way to find her father. No. I was wrong. It was dark. Like I said, it was cannibalistic and it was just nighttime all the time and it was so confusing. One of my main problems with this book was that I loved Farronwood. I loved the way that town was described. And in comparison, Furthermore was so tragically underdeveloped. I feel like we would have needed a map or something, but it keeps on saying over and over how Furthermore cannot be mapped because it's just like up is not down and left is not right, and there's so many loopholes to get to other places, and I totally got that by the end of the book. I was like, where are we? But even then, it was so hard getting a actual description of what they were doing and where they were walking, because Furthermore consists of little villages inside, and each of those villages is different in the way that they're run and the way that everything is composed of magic, and it was too much not described well enough, and it was so whimsical and so strange that it was hard to grasp. For a lot of the book, all I could do was imagine that Furthermore land as the very dark forest in Alice in Wonderland, just because it kept saying everything was dark and there wasn't much scenery, but gotta give the reader something to go off of, like where are they walking? What does it smell like? Maybe not that, but you know, you feel me. You know what I'm getting at. Whenever they were in Furthermore, I had a couple of issues with the way that the plots spanned out. I mentioned earlier, Alice began to become very impulsive and acted a little bit childishly as well. I think just her confidence and her total disregard of anything Oliver had to say was just a little bit not smart. So she would go off and do things and we would just be like, hun. So it was really frustrating at some points in the book that Alice was a little bit too headstrong and couldn't agree on anything. However, I think if this was any other author, I would absolutely hate that and I'd probably take off more than just 1 star. But I am a tragically annoying creature because part of me didn't care. I was like, it's Tahereh. You know, it probably has a meaning. There's probably a purpose. There's gotta be some deeper meaning to these decisions she's making. There's gonna be some moral that's gonna be unveiled. Unveiled? In the end, did it? Not really. But I'd still, like, part of me was like, you know what? Let the characters do what they want to do. The book's gonna end the way it ends. I'll be fine with it. And part of me was thinking, like, is it because it's middle grade? Like, is the reason why I'm having these small issues because they're just little tiny details that can be omitted due to it being in this genre? Okay, I know myself and a lot of other Shatter Me fans were concerned about reading middle grade from Tahereh because I don't know about y'all, I don't know what you do with your life, but I don't read a lot of middle grade. I think maybe Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, that's about it. And as far as it being middle grade, I think there's just like 1 or 2 things to keep aware of. First of all, there are a couple of phrases and like little childish jokes that the closest I can compare it to is Rick Riordan. In Percy Jackson, he has all these little tiny jokes and little catchphrases that the characters say that personally I hate. I think it's so lame and so corny and I don't like it. And a little bit of that is in this book as far as using like little silly catchphrases, but I didn't care because I'm trash for it. The closest I can compare it to is you either love it or you hate it, so take from that what you will. Also, this might be because it's middle grade or it might just be a flaw of the actual book. I think it wrapped up a little too conveniently. The ending was a bit rushed. The ending was a bit convenient. I feel like after they struggled for so long going through Furthermore and having all of these adventures and suffering, the solution just kind of fell upon them. And that's one of my pet peeves is whenever this entire book has occurred and then in the end it's like, oh wow, miraculously, look at that. No. No! So that was a bit anticlimactic, a little bit disappointing, but nevertheless, this sets up for another book. I'm there. Is it done? My address is 3410. That concludes everything that I've thought about this book. As you can see, I have sticky tabbed it several times. This is significantly less than Shatter Me, but it's still a lot of sticky tabs. I'll read a couple so you can get a taste of the writing. Alice was never meant to be such a complicated thing with all these limbs and needs. She often wanted to plant herself back into the earth to see if she'd grow into something better this time, maybe a dandelion or an oak tree or a walnut no one could crack. but Mother insisted, the way she often did, that Alice must be a girl, and so she was. Another quote would be, eyes closed, feet dancing their way toward the pond. She was her own music, her body, her favorite thing she'd ever owned. See, that's just kind of the Alice sass. She owns herself. It's so cute and so inspiring. She felt most comfortable in nature where things weren't required to look like the other in order to live together peacefully. Social commentary. You get all those bases in this book. So hopefully you gathered from this review that I loved this book. It had such great things going for it, but a couple of things fell flat. And that, of course, could be because of my astronomical expectations, but nevertheless, one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read. Cannot wait for the sequel. Cannot wait for this to come out so you all can grab it from the bookstore. I loved it. It's my bae. It's my new bae. Where's Shatter Me? Come here. They're both my baes now, and I just adore Tahereh more than ever. Tahereh, if you're watching this, thank you. I love you. Email me a PDF of the next one. That is everything that I have to say about this book, so thank you all so much for watching. I will link you down below to my Goodreads review of this book and Amazon where you can buy it. I highly, highly recommend you go check this one out, not just because I am horribly biased and love Tahereh Mafi and everything she writes, but you should. A little promo as well if you haven't picked up Shatter Me either. So good. Buy them. So thank you everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know, and I will see you all next time when I review more things. Goodbye!